Little Ham says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to the first E-Tims podcast of 2026, I believe. My name is Desi, and I'm glad to say that tonight I am joined by the former pilot of the Tarrier Carrier, Ralph Mal. Good evening, Ralph.
Good evening. How is everybody?
Yeah, well, we'll find out very shortly, won't we? We don't have Monty C. Burns tonight, sadly, but we do have our man from the suburbs, our resident tactician, who may have quite a few tactics to discuss this evening, Hector Bandido. Good evening, Hector.
Happy 2026. Desi, but I've got to correct you, it's your second pod of 2026.
Well, I didn't go back and check the dates, to be brutally honest.
because that idiot was in charge and we get sacked, and we had one straight after that idiot was given his marching orders.
Yeah, well, you see, so I have been playing the Pam Ewing card that did not really exist. That was all a dream. So the welcome back to Martin, the return of the Mac, I wasn't really counting that. So this is let's just say this is the first official football reviewing style podcast of the year, and thank you everyone for joining. A big shout out to the TL4 listeners, the Lisbon Lion Level Listener Club. Thanks very much to everyone as always. We are here to discuss the current standings. My initial title for this podcast was going to be "It's All a Bit Meh," but that's just my opinion. But we'll come to that, right? So Hector and Ralph, just a quick recap. We're not going to go through every game, but we like to recap where we are since we last spoke. Martin O'Neill came back. Wilfred Nancy went back to America with a bag full of cash and probably laughed his head off. But now Martin's came back again, stabilised Celtic. We won 4-0 against Dundee United. We beat Falkirk 1-0. Then we played Auchinleck Talbot in one of those fairy tale cup games down at Rugby Park, where according to the media, we scraped through 2-0. So that took care of business in the cup. And that kind of brings us up to the last week, right? All while we're coming up to the last week, we've been in January, which is officially, Ralph, is when the transfer window starts. Ralph, do you know when the transfer window started? Was it the 20th or was it the 21st of January? Can you remember?
It started, has it? Well, that's good, because we'll maybe get new signings and things.
Yeah. So this, for anyone who does not follow us on Twitter, I've been in tribute to the Frankenstein movie, I've been running a daily tweet in the style of an old lost journal. And today, Hector, it was day 25. We go over the top at 3 p.m. Let's hope the lieutenant has let's hope the captain has a cunning plan, because that's what we're reduced to, right? So we're on day 25 of the month, folks. We finally signed a centre forward who Martin O'Neill tells us isn't he really a centre forward. He's our centre forward / right winger. But we'll come to that, and we're calling him Big Tam, because we can't really work out exactly how to pronounce it, and I've got problems enough pronouncing, as you all know. So Big Tam, we'll stick with him. So he came in the door, but we'll come to that. Let's go back a week, Hector. The Europa League. We've taken care of business in the Cup. We've got the Europa League. Martin's got a couple of big games to look forward to, and a threadbare squad. And that threadbare squad was also reduced, Hector, due to the fact that Brendan had registered the squad, and we didn't even have bit part players. Like Shin Yamada wasn't even in the squad, so we didn't even. I know Hector's making a face.
That's a positive.
I forgot how much you love him. But what I meant was numbers, the sheer numbers. Squad number, I mean, like sheer numbers. Yeah. We're even cutting our own legs away, so to speak, by the fact that we don't have that quality just to say throw them in or add to enough. Let's fill the roster. So we came to Bologna last week. Arguably one of our hardest games in the Europa League, Hector.
Easily one of our hardest games, and especially considering, as you say, the squad we've got, and also not having Alistair Johnston, Carter Vickers all season. The summer nightmare we had. So going there, they were sitting in a good position. They've been doing really well in Serie A until recently. we're actually around about 4th place in Serie A, but in the last few weeks they've had a bit of a bad spell. But irrespective, going there is always a hard game, and I just the game itself, being honest with you, little expectation on it. I thought they might beat us with a wee bit to spare, Bologna, and I have to say, I think if we'd managed to keep 11 players on the pitch, I think we'd have won that game on Thursday night. I thought we attacked from the first whistle, and we're unlucky not go 2-0 up. The keeper got fortunate, didn't he? Yang had the shot.
Yeah,
I thought the keeper slipped. The keeper
he
actually fell down. He went the wrong way, and he just had his hand up. The keeper had kept his normal position. That was 2-0. The red card, I thought both yellows were soft, but are they yellows in European play? Yeah, they probably are. Very different from Scottish yellow cards, which we'll come to in a minute, and red cards.
That yellow cards or blue cards, did you say there?
Well, we'll come to that. We'll come to that in a few minutes, Desi, right? But Rio, who was instrumental in helping to get the first goal with Dyson, right? He scored the goal, but him and Dyson did a great press, similar to the goal with first goal away in Feyenoord, wasn't it? Where Dyson got the press and I think Rio get the tap into the empty net. Very similar to that. But I think with Rio, his first yellow, once he gets it, his experience, he just has to know, look, especially in Italy, where their players are professional at the dark arts of just falling over and shouting. And that's what he did. The guy cut across him and, you know, he just take a wee step back. Don't even make zero contact. And the referee couldn't wait to get the second yellow card out of his pocket. I mean, he literally must have been the quickest yellow I've seen a guy given, apart from Mr. McLean today with Celtic players. And but it was disappointing for Rio because I think even though we wanted to score the second with 10 men before half time, it was coming. The Alamo was coming. And I think the 11 players would have controlled the second half, and I think we could have probably scored another goal. So overall, Desi, I was delighted with the performance, especially 10 men for 65 minutes, grinding out a draw. You imagine Premon. I mean, dread to think what would have happened if your pal Wolf was in charge.
Yeah. Well, let's stick with my pal Rio first of all, because as everyone knows, I have a very big soft spot for Rio Hatate. And again, the one thing I noticed during the game was he had a few wee kind of losing possession, or it looked as though he'd about to lose possession, and he got a free kick for one of them. But apparently the pitch was terrible. No way. So it was as if like his studs weren't the correct length for. No way. It was one of the nights where he was kind of looked to be stumbling about, and I think he was just getting a bit frustrated. So as you say, Lewis Ferguson goes out towards the byline. He tries to charge him down. He turned, falls over him, and then Sir Ferguson's like, "Oh, that's a yellow card." And then I think it was just those 3 minutes of this daftness and self-annoyance. Things aren't going right for me, and then that clumsy kind of. I mean, it would have been if somebody could have just took him away for 5 minutes. You seen Martin O'Neill Ralph. You seen Martin O'Neill like pointing to his kind of tempo as if to say, "Think, calm down," because he wasn't expecting the red card. And I was like, "Just calm down, just." Kind of find your place." So then sure enough it was like second yellow, you're off.
He does kind of get frustrated very easily, Hatate. But listening to you talking there, I had the feeling that you'd forgive him if he'd picked the ball up and ran the length of the field and tucked it past Schmeichel himself. You'd find a reason.
See if I was to walk downstairs and he was sitting on the couch with my missus, I would have to think twice.
So folks, just to jump in, right? You know, Desi's a fabulous host of the show, but sometimes the host is going to step back for 20, 30 seconds and allow 2 idiots, Ralph and myself, to witter on, right? So Desi does have not just a secret, a massive man crush in Rio, and has had. And the thing is, you know how you get a crush, sometimes you know it's just time to let it go. Just let it go. And most times you do let it go. But Desi's like, you know, that clinging onto that fucking tiniest of straws, hoping he's going to get back to the player he was 3 seasons ago.
Maybe he can change.
Unfortunately, he's no, right? But we'll get one good game in 5 out of him, and hopefully those 1 good games in 5 will be big games coming up to the end of the season.
Yeah, and what about Hatate?
I know.
That is a very good point, right? Fair enough, but that is a very good point. And please just make sure we bring that later, because I want to also ensure, I've no wrote doing the agenda, and we do have an agenda for these things, but I do want to make sure we were talking 5 minutes on players who we think could actually leave this week, right, before. So that's just a mental note that Ralph reminded me of there, Ralph. Right, so Bologna, Ralph. Backs to the wall for a long, long time. People were like Maeda running constantly. He'd been pressing up front at the start, but then he was everywhere, here, there, and everywhere. Yang had a marvellous defensive run at one point also, Ralph. And then
we did what we set out to do. We got the result, but again, it was one of those where you just thought we could have done that wee bit better. We kind of invited them to put us under siege. It was almost immediately from going down to 10 men, it was right, backs to the wall. We didn't have to be. And I have a horrible feeling that we've lost a wee bit of our ability to manage a game. And I'm kind of overlapping into today's game.
Yeah.
But again, we've thrown away a lead. And it didn't have to be like that.
Very interesting. I did think, from a Bologna point, and Hector's touched on it, they are a class. They're a next level team. We'll come back to Hearts and we'll move on to Hearts soon. But they're a next level team, and some of their players, like was it Jonathan Lowe, the winger? I've never heard of him, but I know he's like under England under 21s. You can tell that guy is going to be a star. I mean, he was a different level.
Yeah.
I know he scored. Please don't think I know he scored in the second half, but there was periods when he wasn't in the game, as if we were like keeping him out the game. And I thought we were doing really well, because on the wings they two really good wingers, and they were causing us problems, because that's been our problem a lot of the season out wide, Hector. So I thought we had actually done no bad. I know they scored 2, but I thought we actually done no bad, like trying to contain their main threats.
We did. You touched upon Dyson there, and I know Dyson's he can. It depends. Like today's game we'll talk about wasn't he one of his best games, but then you look at backs to the wall, players having to do something to work. Dyson on Thursday night was extraordinary. The area and what he did. But I'd have to say what I took from Thursday as well is that we managed to grind out even the last 20 minutes. It was 2 each if you include the added time, and it was something that I thought we had lost, was that ability to defend as a group and fight for each other and look organised. And again, this isn't a domestic game, as you say. This is against a Serie A team, the top half of Serie A. I thought Trusty, I thought Scales, I thought Tierney had his best game. Yep. So it was good to see all them. I thought that unity, sometimes it's not so much about did we win. It's obviously you always want to win, but getting a point, but just what you can see with your eyes, when you can see that unity there that you thought might have been gone after that period of darkness we had under that buffoon from the States, right? So that gave me a wee lift, and also it put the ball back in our court for next Thursday against Utrecht, doesn't it? Because we beat them, we're through. Although dare I say it, it's a wee part of me thinking, I don't know what he's still to lose, but would it hinder our chances if we've got more Europa League games to play?
Well, okay. Let me park that one. Let me park that one and come back to that, because that's another interesting me talking point. And heads up, I'd doff of the cap to Axom, because one of the guys in Axom during the week raised this subject, which we'll come on to, right, a wee bit towards the end, just have a wee an hour, wee 5 minutes. So keep that in mind. We'll come back to that. Let's just stick with Bologna, Thursday night. Ralph, admit it. Was that you chastising Mikey Nicholson in the streets of Bologna the other night? We never really got to see the guys holding the camera. Was that you? Hector and I have been known to go abroad and meet with celebrities every now and again. Best friends with the celebs. That's Desi. Unlike this ruffian from Stoke. Was that you, perchance?
No, I wouldn't. I would have been more respectful than that. I would have, what's the word for it? I would have spoken to him like the gentleman he is, and I would have congratulated him on keeping us in all these competitions and having a clear vision to keep the club world class.
Would you thank them for allowing
But what you need to remember is when I go away to Europe, I drink an awful lot. And probably talk an awful lot more shit.
I was going to say, would you have congratulated? Would you have thanked them for helping your club be in the group stages 19 out of 20 in the last 20 years in Europe? I remember like Seville. I remember running into the SFA consortium or whatever, Lex Gold, and they just came back from the UEFA party with Celtic and Porto the night before the game. And I ran up to Lex Gold. Michelle Platini and his wife was there too. And Lex Gold even gave me a nice big official book of the Alcazar in Seville, which I was allegedly meant to auction off for charity. It's still in my loft if anybody wants to see it. It's still in my loft with the rest of the Lisbon Seville stuff. But that's the way you speak to these people abroad. The thing I loved, Hector, I don't know if you see, Hector, I'm assuming you've seen the video. The thing I loved about it is the smile on Michael Nicholson's face when the guy goes, Michael, no, as if these fans love me. You kind of go, this is not going to end well. Exactly. I mean, what did you think was going to happen? So Hector, we've not got Monty tonight, but again, Hector, from your business project leader point of view, a man who needs to get things done within critical timelines, do you think that was the best use of Michael Nicholson's time to be going over to Bologna when the squad's crying out for purchases?
I'd have to say though, right, when you go in Europe, I'd imagine standard practice is
sorry, this before I forget, this is from your perspective of being the board photographer in Madrid. Let's not forget that you were
absolutely. No.
in Madrid.
I even boating around. That's how tight the fuckers are, right? I was over there. No, I'd have to say there's probably a decorum standard, right? You're in Europe, you go away from home. You expect the chief exec representing the club to be. No, let me finish, Desi. You expect him to be there. But in this day and age, things aren't done by fax machine. You see, Desi, right? There's these strange telephone things that are called mobile phones.
Valves.
That are, that allow you to do a number of things like phone agents, phone clubs, have email on your phone, even this thing called WhatsApp, where you can have a kind of private chat with other, dare I say it, board members to get approval for maybe authorization of transfer targets, Desi. So in this day and age, listen, no. You pick up a phone and talk to a club in 2 minutes, don't you? But I don't think communication and talking for us, unfortunately, is one of his strong points, right?
I just like to say, I never thought I'd be writing the mid-chat notes of, can Michael Nicholson multitask? I never thought I would be writing that. But now that you raise the subject, I don't think I can. And again, I was not too nonplussed about that, as you say, the Celtic contingent board going over. Because you imagine they go over and they press the flesh and represent the club. But Ralph, in my opinion, it's such a interesting time, for want of a better word. That's where your Brian Wilson should be stepping in. He could be representing the club rather than your CEO. The CEO could be getting those deals done. So when Martin flies back he's back in training the next morning, the CEO is there going, here's your new guy. You know what I mean?
I think technology comes into it. I think being able to reach somebody as soon as you need to reach them, or to send stuff over by email and they can get a hold of it at the other end, or instantly. So it doesn't make any difference. If
you guys think Michael Nicholson deserves a 3-day jolly to Bologna in the middle of the window, fair enough. You know what I mean? That's fair. That's your opinion, and clearly he's wrong, but he's entitled to it. You know what I mean? So
my biggest worry, Desi, with him, right, is just based upon very little communication I've seen from him, which tends to be Jerry from Celtic TV, right, with the dullest of questions. And this is my concern. He gets as you'd expect. He's not going to get fucking hyper difficult questions from his own club channel, right? But Jerry throws him some easy stuff, and the sweat's pissing out of him, getting easy questions. And I think to myself, what must he be like round about a negotiation table, or having to go to Desmond for approval, shiting his wee breaks? So I just worry that he can't talk to, can't communicate well with people, which is a big thing.
He doesn't come across as a tough negotiator, does he? He doesn't come across as somebody that can twist somebody's arm to get the deal he wants.
Exactly. We don't have Monty on. He has a regular business guru. But we'll discuss the whole role and persona of a CEO compared to the role and persona of the club accountant many times. Peter Lawwell could straddle both areas, right? He was first the accountant and then became the CEO. But he had the personality to bridge that gap and become the very successful CEO. That's fine. Michael Nicholson does not, even though he was hand-reared and used to shadow Peter Lawwell to meetings, etc., he is not what we would expect a Celtic CEO would need to be. But that's by and by. We are where we are, and we'll have to see where that goes. It'll be interesting to see what happens come May, June. But let's just concentrate on this week, right? So Bologna 2-2. Everybody's put, for want of a better phrase, 110% in. Backs to the wall, been unbelievable. Big trusty, amazing. Maeda ran his arse off, fantastic. But then the question was raised, what would this take out the team? Given the fact that it's Thursday evening, they've got to come back Friday, Saturday, they've got to meet their new centre forward on the Friday, and then go to Tynecastle with the league leaders, the team that's already beat you twice, Hector, is waiting for you in a very hostile atmosphere, let's say. Do you think that 2-2 game had much of an effect on today's result?
It did for a couple of reasons. We obviously had to work so hard on Thursday night just to get that draw with 10 men for over an hour. And it's backs to the wall. It's the concentration levels as well required. It'd be tiring both physically and mentally. Then when the players get back from Bologna, back to Glasgow, 1 a.m, 2 a.m, Friday morning, I suspect. Right, and then after that, back to their home, into Lennoxtown for what? I'm guessing 10 a.m, lunchtime on Friday for, they won't get much of a training session the night after, the day after a match. So it's the mental aspect, Desi, as much as the physical aspect. And then we're going to a game, and they all know the importance of the game today. And this is where the Celtic board are so culpable and have been since last January when they made us worse. The summer when they made us really, really worse. And the fact we're now, today, day 25, and they should have had a handful of first-team ready players ready to step in. So we had 4 guys, 2 come on today, the striker and the right back, but at least another centre-back, at least another mid or a right winger. We should have at least 4 fresh players to step in today. And if we'd have done that, I think we'd have won that game a bit to spare today. And I think that's where they're so culpable.
Yeah, right. So
there's always maybe criticism of O'Neill that he didn't freshen it up, that he stayed with a few players that had ran their arses off on Thursday. But he really didn't have that much choice, especially in defence. And especially knowing that Hearts are going to throw everything at us. There was a lot made, especially in the media, that Hearts were without Shanklin, Devlin, the other midfielder. But we've been without a number of key players all season, and with a couple more injuries added to that before the game. So I think he kind of trusted to luck a wee bit more than what he should have done.
No, Desi, and you go, sorry, you go.
No, I was just going to say, because on that, I replied to somebody on something similar on Twitter earlier, Ralph, but somebody basically saying, yeah, but we've had a lot of long-term injuries too, something like that. We've had long-term injuries to deal with. And I went, but surely that if you get long-term injuries, you know you've got to deal with the long-term injury. You've got to supplement. You just don't wait till the last week in the window and try and get another loanee 4-month deal in. No, that kind of idea. Like, we have known Jota's been out for a year since Martin O'Neill's first time. That kind of like Martin O'Neill's been aware of these things. I'm not having a go at Martin because obviously he's went to the board. I need quality, and they've went, yeah. And I meant before I came on, I meant to look up Michael Nicholson's. Remember, we will back Nancy with all we've got, etc. When he was doing the wee tour of Lennoxtown. Remember that?
Say his name, didn't you?
No, I mean that is shitty PR. So where's the backing for fucking Martin O'Neill?
But Desi, here's what I think the big issue is here. That once they brought him in, Nancy, and then through Tisdale and others, they went, well, his style of play is different from anything we've had in the last 8 years or so. It's totally different. But no, we all seen our own eyes don't lie. It was ridiculous. But irrespective, his style of play was nothing like what we had. So undoubtedly there must have been a group of players, him and Tisdale's went, right, we'll bring them in at the start of January, I suspect, to try and move to the style of play that he wanted. He's sacked for being shite. Mons brought in again very quickly, Sean Maloney, and he's even said at his media conferences, he's been offered players. I suspect it's the players that Nonsi was wanting, and without saying it, because he's too good a man, right? He's went, I'm not fucking wanting these people, right? So I think for us, even if we get rid of Nonsi 2 weeks early, which we'd spoken about, we'd had quite a heated debate on it at the time, but it was clear he was just way out of his depth. That 2 weeks would have been vital to allow Martin O'Neill and Sean Maloney to get players in earlier. But see, we let them go after the Rangers game. It was at the 2nd or 3rd of January. He was sacked 2 days later. That was the 5th of January. Martin's back in the 6th. So in effect, Martin's come in, introduced himself again, looked at these players with Sean Maloney and went, fucking rubbish. Then we'll have to do our own scouting. So it's like Martin's commented on it. There's him, there's Sean Maloney, there's Fotheringham, all the way talking to agents, talking to people they know, contacts in the game they've got, as well as doing 2 games a week.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a culmination of all of that that's left us where we are right now. Again, it gets back to the board.
Yeah. And on that point, it's kind of interesting that the 2 big money, the 2 main purchases of the last window, Tuneki and Balikwisha, none of them started today, even though we're down to the bare bones. So it shows how much faith that I think O'Neill, Maloney, etc. have got in those players. That they wouldn't even start them when we're down to the bare bones, which no matter who gets presented to him from that list, he's not going to look at it twice at all.
Right. Okay. We'll revisit.
We'll come in after the Hearts game.
That is why we're here, really. Right? Yeah. Well, for you, right? So midweek we start to get told there's a rumour there's a deal getting done. There've been a few strikers being announced, and for some strange reason, it was the classic Celtic announced an interest in a striker. First of all, it started with Kyogo. Kyogo runs up with Parton scores that night that we get linked to him, and then it turns out we actually went to Kyogo himself. We never went through the club, so Birmingham told us to go fuck ourselves. So we've burnt all the bridges with Birmingham. That's why they're not come back for Yang. And then we announced we were interested in Callum Wilson. He comes off the bench and scores a winner for West Ham. He's rejuvenated West Ham. So somehow we were responsible for other team successes. But then eventually, Ralph, we discover midweek we're in serious talks with Tom Chanchara from Borussia Mönchengladbach. And he arrives, I think it was like, say, a Wednesday. He was flying over. Deal was done the Thursday, and then he's pictured with his extraordinary long neck, Ralph. He's got a longer neck than Joe Hart. He was pictured with the team on the Friday. So were you happy we finally got a striker in? And do you think he's in the Martin O'Neill mould, the 6'3" Chris Sutton style?
We can only go on what we've seen of him, and that was today. It's going to take him a while to settle, and it's obviously a kind of panic thing to put him in today. You could see he wasn't a match fit. You could see that he didn't know where to expect his teammates to be. You could see they didn't know what to expect from him. Granted, he get the run that led to the second goal, but he's not ready to be a first team player yet. Told you it'd be a laugh a minute tonight.
No.
Ralph, he's no choice. He's got to be ready to be a first team player because
yeah. But it's not where we should be.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but see, because we are here now. So he starts today. In an ideal world, he wouldn't have been on the bench maybe in the last 25 minutes or something. That would have been how you normally do these things. But we are where we are, as they say. But his baptism of fire is arguably one of the toughest games, because even if you go to Ibrox and that it's the hatred and it's from the stands and it's ferocious, but there tends to be more of the ball on the deck. Go to Tynecastle. The ball's on the deck. Look at the balls on the deck. It's for a free kick.
I tweeted, and the winner of the worst 3 minutes of quality football in 2026 goes to that first 5 minutes of the day's game was atrocious.
But you imagine him, Desi. He's come in today, right, having played for Sparta Prague, wasn't it? Going to Germany, the Bundesliga, technical football. He's 6'3", but he's a technician. He likes the ball at his feet, likes to have the layoffs, the give and goes. And the second goal showed with him when he out wide to Maeda, he got the knock on and he sprinted half the length of the field and head up, calm, ball across the goal for a tap in. So he demonstrates technically right and left foot and that wee spell, but he was never going to get the chance to show his game because you've got two guys pretty much fouling him the whole game.
Yeah.
With their arms on his back of his head, going up for every header, which I think you get one foul today if you're lucky out of it. And you get a nice wee booking as well, just to kind of wrap things up. But I would say Martin was asked that, is he like a Sutton or Hartson type? Martin went, no, he's not. He's not that big bruising player. He goes, but he's got pace. He's a technician. That's fine for us, as long as he's between the lines of the penalty box and he gets the service to put the ball in the net. That's all we need.
Somebody likened him to Samaras earlier on Twitter, which I thought was quite a good wee comparison. Maybe a bit bigger and broader, but that rangy running down the line, getting the ball across for somebody to charge in. So,
well, mind he had that really difficult header. He hit the bar.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and then Maeda got in the way. I thought he was going to score the rebound.
He was trying to find me to get back.
So he was unlucky, really unlucky with that. I felt.
Yes. There was one of the wee things I did like was Celtic went up for a corner. Nothing came of it, obviously. It's a Celtic corner, but Celtic went up for a corner, and you saw him talking to Trusty, like as if directing Trusty of maybe, I don't know what he was saying, but it could have been a case of you take them away and leave me a space. No, that way, but maybe that'll be something that will come through. But of course, Arnie Engels then takes a kick and sends a 5-foot corner in, which gets cleared at the front post. Knowing you're wanting a 7-foot corner flying into the middle of the box to cause a Heart-style corner, let's say, to the back post.
So I put my hand up, right? This is when you see players and you think there's a player there. Monty's famous quote, right? And with Engels, he's shown in fits and starts in his time with Celtic. There's talent there, right? He can in many cases put in a beautiful delivery. He can score goals, pick a good pass, but see the inconsistency with him. And seeing big games, and you make your mark as a Celtic player in big games, he very rarely, if ever, stands up. Very rarely. And today's an example of that. But we all know that McInnes is going to man-mark Callum McGregor, right? That's what he's done the previous two games. He's going to do that today. McGregor's got no space. Then you're saying, well, you need Engels or Nygren to step into that space and to take control of the game. And yet again, I know Nygren scored a fabulous free kick, but in general play, him and Engels again, there's nothing. And that just...
They don't complement each other at all, do they? They don't complement each other at all. And that's maybe why Hatate was getting picked ahead of one of them all the time. Hatate at least does something that wee bit different.
I think what I'm saying, Ralph, is that I think with me, with Engels, it's kind of time's up with him in my head. I've reached that point where, that's 18 months, and by now you should be more consistent. He's got the physical attributes. What's the guy, 6'1"? He's got pace, he's got good techniques, but it's the in and out thing. So what I'm getting, I'm going to come to this. See the remaining days of the transfer window, we need another central midfielder in there with a bit of physicality in there, because we're too light. We're just too light for the rest of this league to the end of the season.
I tweeted earlier that somebody put up somebody at Celtic midfield. They say they need heart or something. I went, no, they need legs, shoulders, and like kind of put. We don't like for England, and also for that first goal, I just put my paper bag because Tierney's trying to defend everything in the back court, and you see Engels is just stunning there. As you say, Hector, he's got the frame. They should be saying fuck off to any Hearts player. I mean, he's a big, strong guy. He's not a big lumpy boy like a Hearts player. He's a big athlete. He should be able to just bounce people off him. But as if he's shy, he's not. It doesn't impose himself in a game, and that's what you kind of go maybe this game, and then suddenly, is it me that's maybe deluding myself? Sorry, Ralph.
No, you've maybe hit the nail on the head there about him not being able to impose himself in the game. And do you know what? I don't think we've got very many players that can do that at all.
Yeah,
I think we're lacking in that kind of self-confidence, arrogance, whatever you want to call it. We don't have it. And we should have.
That's a very good question. Right? So what do we think the word would be here, right? For a person who could come in and basically take that command, like take the pressure of playing for Celtic, the pressure of having, like raising your game and raising your stature and persona and influence to actually take control of the game. That's what we're needing right now. As probably 2 or 3 of you guys.
You just hit the nail on the head with the word callous. That's what we're missing.
But Mon said, I think it was the first time he came in back in sort of November time-ish or October time, and Brendan said it last summer. We need physicality and we need men. And Martin elaborated on that earlier on, again back to his first time he came in, and he said it's men who are the finished article in terms of stature. They're maybe 28-year-olds. We don't need guys. We can still get projects to come in and look after them. Hopefully the next 2 or 3 years to become, but no to start in the first team right now unless they're exceptional. We need 3 or 4 men, proven, experienced, battle-hardened guys who can play football. It doesn't matter alone or no, who are 26, 27, 28, 29-year-olds between now and the end of the season. That's what that team needs to try and win the league, in my opinion.
Yeah, the same way that Aaron Moy made a difference when he came in.
Aye, exactly. And that's a very good example, Ralph, because he also had the football intelligence and the football maturity to know what was needed to take control of a game, if you know what I mean. He had the kind of football stature to say, give me it. I mean, like, it's like, I remember you'd watch Moy and he would like run into the penalty box, but he wasn't like scared. He was like, he knew exactly what he was doing, running into a crowd of players. You know what I mean? And then he would always like, he would lay it off just at the right moment. The guy was running into the byline or something, or else he would cut it across the goal to the right. I mean, like, he had the confidence, and I don't think it's a confidence thing where like your Negrons and that. I just don't think they've got the personality to go out there and say, see the day, this is going to be my game. Give me the ball. It's as if they wait for the ball to come to them. If that makes sense. If you know what I mean.
Or how dare you tackle me, Hart?
What
are you doing? What are you doing? And yet the weird thing with Nigel, he's this enigma, as we all know. He's got 11 goals. He's a joint leading scorer in the league. And yet all of us who go to games, we all go, right. Sometimes there's lies, damn lies and statistics, isn't there? And 11 goals is an amazing return from midfielder. But yet, how many games in the entire season can you say he stood out as controlled the game, demanded the ball, give and go? Very rarely has he done that.
All you remember about him was his goals.
Yeah, but also, but then they back that up, people go, play him at centre. Remember, people were going, play him at centre forward. But he's not in the game. He's not like Maeda. I know Maeda's not a centre forward, but Maeda's in the game. He might lose the ball, but he's in the game.
And he sprints. He sprints like fuck.
And he kind of tries to shoulder centre halves. But no, I mean, it's like that. They're not in it. They just float in and out. And I know Hatate's the exact same.
The same. The three of them are the same.
Team right now.
Nygren, Hatate, and Engels. I'd even say Bernardo. They're all kind of they flit in and flit out. I know Bernardo's not many chances this season, but he has had. We need somebody like a Scott Brown in there. A Victor Wanyama. I know they don't. I know these guys just aren't readily available.
Right, exactly, Hector. No, right now we need Barry Robson and Paul Hartley.
Do you know that's not a bad shout?
I mean that style. Get his 2 guys with shooters on them who can say fuck off. And get the ball to the guy who can score it. You know what I mean?
Aye.
That's style.
Put 2 of them around about Calmac. Because he's carried that.
He might be a bit old now, right enough. I'm not sure of Paul Hartley.
He's man marked. Teams just know the man mark him. And that's half the job done, because the other 3 we've mentioned very rarely are going to take control of any game.
Well then, why not play with 4 midfielders then? If we could 3 lightweight midfielders, try it with 4.
But who's the 2 strikers?
Well, so this is where we come to the new guy, Big Tam. Does Big Tam float like salmon ass? And then
because you need to keep Maeda in, so it just means one.
Another who is not. So I did have this big question of Ian Atcho is back training and it might be a bit early, so he might turn up on Thursday. But is he going to be your new striker according to the board to partner with Big Tam? Ian Atcho. Do you actually think we're going to get another striker in,
You
Hector?
can't
But I think
depend on him because
Johnny
he's
Kenny would be
hamstring.
a better
I
part.
know that.
Johnny
I know,
Kenny's
but
a
I'm
great
saying,
second striker. I
listen,
think.
what I'm trying to say is the board are going, oh, wait a minute, you've got Ian Atcho coming back, we're paying him 30 grand a week or whatever. So I should get 3 strikers now. And Martin O'Neill goes, but Kenny's injured, but it's no long term, so he'll be back in 6 weeks. So you can make David A2 with Maeda as your backup. No, and Martin O'Neill's going, really? Is that what you're expecting?
We keep delving into it because we can't help it, right? But we'll come to the transfers after the Hearts game, right? So just jump back to the Hearts game. Nigan's free kick was fabulous. That rare free kick, almost Nakamura-esque.
Free kick.
Nakamura, left foot, Nakamura-esque, right? But then after that, the game just became the game Hearts wanted for many reasons. One, and we'd spoken in a WhatsApp chat about this, Hearts are very simple in their approach, but it's very effective. See, losing midfielders for them doesn't matter. See, losing Devlin and others, of course, when it comes to them defending the ladder bit, but they bypass the midfield so much. They go long and try to win the second ball, try to get a throw in down towards your penalty area, try to get a free kick. That's their game plan. And I felt the first half, we fell into their trap in the first half. I thought we gave away some daft free kicks the first half. The second half's more about the referee, but the first half was more. I thought Yang gave away 2 or 3 daft ones, just to leg out. Oh, don't. I just felt he did. And then there was others that did it. And then even Casper with a brilliant save. Was it Trusty? A basic pass back.
Oh,
and he fucked it up. And they're through 1-1. So we brought the pressure on ourselves, and then we stopped trying to do any semblance of passing football. So I felt the first half where I was really disappointed. 1-0 up, but I thought we were really poor in the first half. What's your take on it?
No, sorry, I'm just.
Again,
Sorry, Val, give me 1 second. Sorry, give me 1 second. I've raised my hand there. Just you mentioned Yang. I know Yang, because Chris Sutton was going on about Yang a lot during the game. But what I was just wanting to add to that was the fact that Yang's going away free kicks, as I also think is symptomatic stroke a reflection on this season, whereby we're trying to turn a guy who is always an attacking right winger into this covering right half kind of idea. He's trying to do like 3 jobs, and Taneke gave away like loads of free kicks to it. Like that, no, like we're trying to make them day jobs. But we're trying to make them day jobs they're not really used to doing, and that ultimately leads to problems because you've not got the personnel to do the actual real jobs. You know what I mean? So we're kind of created that wee problem for ourselves, and then we kind of reap the unsuccessful rewards of those. Ralph, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, but it's not free kicks due to clumsiness as such. It's more petulance, more like, oh, he's went by me again, and a pulley a shot or an arm gone up. It's just, I get the impression today they were just tired. And tired mentally, tired physically, and getting more and more frustrated because Hearts just seemed like they wanted to win it more. Not especially through playing football, because they didn't. And then you had, with so many fouls, the plays broken up, we only had the one passing move and we scored for it. You know, the 5 or 6 passes put together.
See the first half, Ralph, the first half, we're 1-0 up, and it's over at their right back, halfway inside their half, and Dyson challenges the guy, wins the ball, he's cleared down the left, the referee blows for free kick to Hearts, and you're going,
yeah,
how is that? Well, we know how it's possible, right? But you're looking at going, there's things like that. Even when we're not playing well, we break away. I think we're through it's a 3v3 or 3v2. That could be 2-0, and it's important. So but the first half that didn't happen very often. The first half, to be fair, the first half I thought, well, the masters of our own poor play. The first half we played their game. The second half, though, I thought the referee came into his own in the second half, and I thought it was appalling. And what I mean by that was, there's free kicks. There's some free kicks, no two ways about it. But there's so many he gave in the second half of the slightest physical contact. And believe it or not, in football's allowed physical contact, right? You're allowed to go shoulder to shoulder with a player or go touch tight. And even Scales were running the ball against the Hearts forward at the near side touchline. It was a throw into Celtic, gives a free kick to Hearts. And by doing that brought a lot of pressure on us by him doing that, because it then inevitably led to Hearts just going bump, with their 5 or 6 players who are over 6 foot tall into our box. But the second thing is, it wouldn't allow us to get a rhythm to our game. The stop, start. How can you start to get the ball down and try and get patterns of play? He wouldn't allow it. And I thought the referee in the second half was appalling.
Was there not an incident where McInnes went barging into the Celtic technical area? I only read about it after.
First goal.
It was confrontational and aggressive, which should have been a red card.
Apparently, McInnes was not impressed by the antics of an inexperienced member of the Celtic coaching staff. So somebody's obviously celebrated too much to upset McInnes. I don't know the details, but that was the headlines I saw.
That'll be interesting. And then, of course, that brings us to the actual red card, which was bizarre. Because the guy cut across, Trusty. He cut across and the ball was way out of his control and it wasn't going anywhere near the goal. But you knew the minute he get called over, we're beaten on there. Let's just call it the perception of bias amongst certain officials within the SFA and the refereeing community. You knew it was going to be a red card the minute you get called over. And I would love to hear the audio. It goes back to that Hibs one. Well, what about there? What about there? Can we use that as an excuse? I'll wager that's what it sounds like.
I did tweet before the game today. I actually put out a tweet today at 10 o'clock in the morning saying who's getting sent off today. But my candidates were Araujo. I don't think it's scale. I think we had, who else did I have? Araujo, Big Tam, new guy. Can't remember who I have. But Maeda. I thought Maeda might get because he'd be buzzing about. And then Martin O'Neill. So when they actually said, there's problems over at the technical area, I thought, here we go, Martin O'Neill's getting sent to the stand or something like that. But it was Derek McInnes taking off. And then when they score, he goes mental and runs about. Mainly, you don't see the fourth official doing anything. We'll come back. I'll come back to the sending off in a second. But this going back to the actual tiredness. After 35 minutes, Hector, we looked dead on our feet in the first half. I mean, like, we weren't. I know you're saying Cal Mack was man marked and people weren't taking the actual ownership or responsibility, but we weren't even trying to find a man. We were just kicking it anywhere, up in the air, out to the side. It wasn't even like tactical. It was just get it away from me. Get it. When we looked like a bunch of panic merchants, and you kind of go. And I tweeted them like, did we leave our Liam Scales in Italy? Because you're kind of going, what's going on? They just look like a bunch of scared rabbits in the headlights. It was really weird. Like we kind of lose that professionalism.
It was. We played their game. The first half, I was really disappointed. The first half, bit of composure, and again it goes back to the midfield and the wide players just getting more involved, and they weren't, because their game plans to bring us up close to the halfway line. Invariably, it's Trusty in possession. They're happy to let him have it. Then they do a squeeze in the halfway line. But if you look where Calmack is, who's the guy that scored the equaliser? I forget his name. He's the kind of number 10. He plays off the striker. He sits and just man marks Calmack when we've got possession. And then he's got good pace from the break. He just fires forward. But our game plan was slow. And it was rather than just be brave. And being brave is just, you're touch tight. Take the touch. I'll do a simple layoff. We didn't. We went long. We were skying it long. I just felt 1-0 up against them. We get the second, we're going to destroy them here, and we just didn't take the opportunity. I felt in the first half.
Aye.
So there sometimes seems to be a kind of we don't want to lose this game rather than we want to win this game mentality amongst them, and it kind of correlates with how much pointing Callum McGregor does on the pitch. Just something that I've noticed over the whole season. That includes going back to when Rodgers was in charge. And I think we need to break free of that. It might take a while, but...
Yeah, but it's hell of a frustrating when so you see Cal Mack is towards the centre circle. There's maybe 2 Hearts players 5 yards from either side. He's pointing to Trusty or Scales to where it can go, kind of thing. They can advance 5 yards forward towards the halfway line. And then just on there, as if, I don't know, I'm going to do next. And then Hearts kind of go, here we go. And you're kind of going, what's happening? And then it's like, hold on. And then we kind of go, where is the other 7 players on the pitch that can help this guy? and then we just punted it. At some point, we were just punting it over all the lines towards Craig Gordon's area. There wasn't any like runs into channels or anything. It was just weird. And I'm watching it, Hector. I'm watching it thinking, what's Martin O'Neill and Sean Maloney watching here? That they just think, just leave it. It's all right for now. Do we just think it's all right? We'll just stay under seas. We'll find our way into this game because we never really did.
No,
I mean, like
no.
I know we scored twice, but we were never really like charging forward at any point with any waves of attack or composure at any point.
Maybe they thought
Never
the game
put any
was
pressure on them at all.
maybe they thought the game was settled down. With this time after usually the first 20-25 minutes of a match can be a bit mental, chaotic, and then can settle down. But Tynecastle being a tight pitch and how Hearts play, it's not about them keeping the ball, with the defence through the midfield to up front. They'll keep the ball at the back. Then invariably they'll go long with it. But even today, right? So we committed 22 fouls today. Sorry, the referee awarded 22 fouls against Celtic today, right? And we get 6 yellow cards. I'm struggling to think of
We are a dirty team.
anything. I mean,
Apparently,
Trusty,
sorry, I just say apparently we get six yellow cards and not one of them was for a foul.
Trustees must have been the red card.
Well, I had a red, so but I wasn't a yellow. So, but apparently yellow cards, none of them were for fouls. I know Michael get booked for time wasting.
And Chara in the first half, not get booked.
Callum McGregor get booked for that altercation. Remember, there was Callum McGregor, I think 2 Celtic players now, Stuart Finlay get booked for altercation.
I think Engels get booked for that, didn't he?
You know what I mean? So I don't know. I could be wrong, but I read somewhere that says none of the yellow cards were for fouls, for actual
22 free kicks he awarded against Celtic. 22.
That's one
I
every
read that.
4
I read
minutes.
that in the BBC. Did you not think that seemed dead low?
It does feel low.
I thought it was dead. I actually thought it was low.
So here's the point, Ralph. Here's the point you're kind of making, right? So 22, Hearts 13. There's 35 fouls, right? So on average, that's 1 every 3 minutes, right? Now free kicks,
And
as we know,
put corners into that as well.
well, free kicks aren't taken, as we know, quickly. So every time there's a free kick, every time, maybe 80% of the time, if it's going to get put in their box, the players go up, they get set, maybe it takes 20 to 30 seconds. So you think of 30 free kicks breaking up the play between, say, 15 to 30 seconds each time. All the throw-ins they got where the guys were taking 15 yards unopposed by the linesman or referee to go up to your penalty box. But how long was that taking? Then the corner kicks. But you're thinking, there was no flow to the game because of this. And that suited Hearts.
In fairness, the referee did add on 8 minutes at the end. When was the last time you saw 8 minutes being added onto a game of football this season? Because I thought we'd reverted away from the COVID. Remember, after COVID, we were going 13 minutes, not a crazy thing. I thought we were just going back to the usual 4 or 5 at the most. And then the day, Ralph, 8 all of a sudden. Hearts might need a winner. Let's go for 8 minutes.
I know. It does make us all seem kind of paranoid, but there's an awful lot of things starting to happen again that used to happen years ago. And that's one of them. Especially given now that there's another team overtaking us, played the same amount of games, got more points. It's going to be a difficult run-in.
So Desi, what I would say to you, right, what I would say is that despite all that, right, and you just were about to record, you mentioned that kind of quite unsure, kind of meh type feeling. And I was kind of a bit like that, but in a slightly different way that, well, it's always disappointing when you're ahead twice not to win, especially a big game. But if I think back to the exertions on Thursday night and getting a terrific point away to Bologna, a Serie A team, quick turnaround, going to Tynecastle, which is always going to be a battle, as it was today, inspired by the referee making it the way it was. But we dug out a game with 10 men in the last added time as well, maybe 15, 20 minutes. We dug it out. That point may be a big point come, we get fast forward to March, April time, right? And the third thing is Martin O'Neill's comments after the game when asked about the red card. Martin's quite calm, likes to have a laugh, likes to have a joke, likes to deflect things away, kind of diffuse situations. He went straight to the jugular. He goes, was it not a red? It wasn't even a blue card, right? And I loved it. And he was angry. he was fizzing. We did the interview with Sky Sports, and I thought, of all the managers you don't want to get really wound up and annoyed, it's him. So, and he said the team's unified, we're together, plenty of fight left in this team. We can still win this league pretty much. I just think we'll take a lot from the last 2 games for the domestic run-in. I really do. And again, it's going to go back to your conversation a few minutes about strengthening the squad. Because without that, we can forget it. So it's all about that in the next week.
Okay, right. So 2-2 with Hearts today. We'll move on. Trusty's out for the next game. He's sending off. We may appeal it. That'll be interesting to appeal it. I've already saw, I think it's like the ref's view or something on Twitter saying underneath the SFA guidelines, we would expect this to be overturned, which makes you wonder why you've got two SFA officials telling you it's a red card. But we'll let the club deal with that. But that's another question, Ralph. You might want to consider. Do you actually think the club will do anything, i.e. a Rangers, and put out a very strongly worded statement? But we'll park that for now. Just on the Martin O'Neill thing, let's not forget, Hector, we've still not conceded a goal from open play since Martin O'Neill came back, and his two penalties, a corner and a free kick. That's where the goals have came from against Martin O'Neill's Celtic so far. You know what I mean? So,
he'll be raging me losing 2 goals to set pieces.
Again, one of the most annoying thing was we all watched that game today, and Hearts played that free kick to the back post 4 times. 4 times in a row. It was the same free kick every time they tried. Back post,
with nobody on the post either.
The header back. So we should have Trusty or somebody on him. That's the way this is going. Somebody should have spotted that early doors. You know what I mean? Can
I make just one wee, just so I don't forget, before we move on to strengthen the squad? I think it's only right that a bit of praise goes to Kasper Schmeichel. I think the last couple of games, I think all season he's been pretty poor and deserves so much criticism. He's been way below the levels of last season. I think from the cup final lost to Aberdeen, since then he's been pretty rubbish, to be honest with you, by his own standards. I think today, 2 of the one-on-one saves. One was a handout very quickly, another one was just before half time, and again away to Bologna. I thought some of his saves were outstanding. So for me, I think he merits a fair bit of praise the last couple of games.
There was also
and away to Falkirk.
Yeah, there was one today when the balls come over. It was obviously aimed, to go over everybody to get headed back, and he came out and punched it, which kind of told me he was a wee bit fed up with the defence not doing what he's expecting them to do. But again, how many times have we changed in the defence in front of him just lately? So
that's true.
Yeah, fair enough. I really like the shot stopping. Great, loads of good saves. But again, I don't like his mobility outside that 6-yard box is non-existent. He's never coming to grab any corners. He's never coming to go through a big centre half. I mean, his area's very much that 6-yard area now.
Not many keepers do that.
I don't know if he could have came for that second goal. If he could have came for that, I don't know if it had been in no man's land like we've saw him in recently. So I don't know if he just centres himself now and says, "This is my area. I'll let the defence deal with that." I think that's a bit missing. But apparently, we've got rumours with a Polish keeper now.
But look at the number of players, right? And it's not just us; it's every league now. Look at the number of players who are between the goalkeeper and the 6-yard line. There tends to be maybe about 8-10 bodies. So the line for any keeper, it's very rare to see a keeper nowadays, if you watch other games, to come out and claim a ball because they don't get the run that back in our day, keeper, it didn't happen. Players didn't stand next to the keeper and invariably they give a free kick if they did. Now they're all blocking and counter blocking, you end up with 8 or 10 bodies. I don't think there's any clear passage for keepers nowadays. Very rare to come out and claim a ball nowadays.
On that, by the way, I think there's also questions that should be getting asked of where we are positioning ourselves. I know that 18-yard line is very handy for telling people what the line is, but if you've got another 10 yards, you can step up the fucking park. Step up another 10 yards. Don't just use a convenient line for a convenient line's sake. If you can take the opposition as far away from your goal as possible, take them. I think we just set back a lot of times rather than saying, right, the free kick's 30 yards out or 35 yards out, we're getting up as high as possible because we'll either get Trusty's legs to get back or it'll make them have to work hard to actually get a header knocked back to somebody to win the second ball. I just think we need to have a bit more intelligence. I just thought we sat back a lot for these sort of attacks. You know what I mean? Anyway.
Again, comes back to a lack of leadership.
No, but so that also comes back to where we're coming to, because Martin O'Neill, Sean Maloney, and Fozzie, etc., all the coaching team, they're currently having to do about 4 jobs. They're probably cleaning the place and all. They're having to do the coaching when available. So when available, they're having to do the scouting stroke recruitment. They're having to do whatever, phoning around, the contacts, the comms, whatever it is. They're also having to do the press conferences and everything else to do with actually running the team. So when are they getting time to do the coaching? You know, these sort of, like that, it all has an impact. It's all got a domino effect of impacting every area whereby you're distracting. And I read something the other day about, like, basically if you get distracted from something you're working on and you think, oh, it'll take me 15 minutes, it actually takes you 3 times that for, like, mental attitude, mental aptitude of actually being able to direct your mental perspective and attention onto something and then come back to restart something. These sort of, so them having to juggle or spin all these plates will have a detrimental effect in every area. It's a disgrace you think Martin O'Neill's coming back and having to phone round pals, right? So that brings us to where we are then, right? So we finish, so this to be clear, we finished the Hearts game, and I joked to you guys earlier, remember when we used to bring on subs like Tom Rodgick, and now our subs today, Hector, to close out that game, well, let's be honest, it was to hopefully close out that game. Tierney gets injured, Trusty gets sent off, so we brought in Dane Murray and we moved Scales to left back. Or Tierney gets injured. We had to play Anthony Ralston as a left back because we didn't have a left back on the bench to shadow Ralston. We were hoping that Scales could do that, but then with Trusty and hope we had to bring on Dane Murray, who had a nightmare at Tynecastle the first time around, and let's be honest, doesn't seem as if he's ever going to crack it at Celtic. He's like another Engels. 6 foot odds, big wide frame, big athlete, no presence whatsoever. You know what I mean? So that was what we were reduced to having to put, and then your attackers were James Forrest, Ralph's old pal. We were literally bare bones and then some. So he actually put Martin O'Neill in that scenario. So as you say, Ralph, but like I don't think Martin O'Neill had any choice of who he could have played today. It's ridiculous. We had to play one brand new striker who's not been playing 90 minutes for his club for a long time. Had to pitch him right in. You could see the sweat coming off big time towards the end of the second half. So he gave everything he had. So we are where we are, Hector. So what we have is a right back on loan.
He's been good.
Yes.
He
has, I thought he was one of your best players today because actually he wanted the ball.
Every game he started.
Doesn't make many mistakes at all, does he? Doesn't make many mistakes at all.
He's solid, he competes, he's technically sound.
You're laying around, Joe. Yeah, so I thought he was our most confident player today. He was the guy that took the ball down in his chest and tried to run forward with it. So we'll get Julian Araujo at right back. We'll get Stephen Welsh, right, recalled from Motherwell to play against Auchinleck Talbot, which then cup-tied him. So it means he can't go. If he goes back to Motherwell, he can't play in the cup. So if we draw Motherwell in the cup, that could be a shrewd move. Stephen Welsh is nowhere to be seen today. I never saw any notice of him being injured. So we bring on Dane Murray, and that was the sort of game you imagine a Stephen Welsh could have been quite happy to be involved in today. Get stuck right in, you know what I mean? Very weird. And then we bring in Big Tam.
Montgomery's come back as well.
Sorry?
Adam Montgomery's come back as well.
Oh, sorry, but he's injured, I think. Apparently, I did say continue, so he's injured. So we currently have a right back, and we currently have a centre forward / right winger option potentially, Big Tam.
Yeah.
Do you think Martin will be happy with that, Hector?
What's that? That's the most rhetorical of rhetorical questions, Desi,
Before I forget, but let's don't remember we've got Johnny Kenny injured, we've got Sirachi injured, we've got Alistair Johnson injured, we've got Kieran Tierney also injured, but we do have a year in actual back training, so he may come back very soon. So that's
is Sirachi back training, the Uruguayan boy? He's been quite good. He's been good.
Yes. You carry on. Tell me how you think Martin O'Neill will be painting this picture to his friends.
He's answered the question at every press conference he's done, and he said absolutely we need players in. So my opinion, what do we need in? It's no changed. It's actually no change since the start of the window. We need in a right-sided centre-back, right-footed centre-back with pace and presence. Martin O'Neill likes that guys at 6'4", 6'5", doesn't he? So I suspect that's what he's wanting. We need that person now, right? Because if Trusty's going to be out, we've no other centre-halves with that presence. We need a centre-mid with presence who can compete, bit of physicality. Again, a man, no a boy of 21, a man there. We need a right winger with pace and control and quality, and we need another striker. As a minimum, we need 4 players in. 4 starting players, no 4 prospects in the next 2 years. You can get a couple of prospects the next 2 years, that's no problem. I encourage them to keep doing that. We need 4 people ready to step in and start immediately because, well, you were talking there, Des, I just looked at the fixture list coming up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've got, as well as playing games twice a week the last couple of weeks, we've now got coming up Utrecht on Thursday night again.
Must win game.
Which is another massive game.
Well, every game's pretty much must win. We've got Falkirk at home next Sunday. Falkirk's been great, right? They've been great this season. Them at 3 o'clock next Sunday. Next midweek after that, we're at Pittodrie on the Wednesday night, right? Away to Aberdeen. Then we're at home to Dundee on the Saturday at 5:30 Scottish Cup. Then, fuck's sake, then we play Livingston midweek at Celtic Park.
Oh,
Not home, midweek at home. Then we go to Kilmarnock at the weekend. And then we go to Hibs. Sorry, we play Hibs the week after that. But if we beat Utrecht,
the European game in there,
we get even more. So where I'm coming from, we've got about 6 games coming up in about 18 to 20 days coming up after the games we've just played. We need 4 starters in this week. Ain't fucking about this week. We need at least 2 of them. Well, bear in mind that Arujo and Vankara can't play on Thursday, so they'll step in next Sunday and play against Falkirk.
Mm-hmm.
But we need another couple of guys, a right-sided centre-back, to start next, get them in, train this week, start next Sunday, and we need at least 1 more player in to start next Sunday. But we need 4 in total, as a minimum 4. No fucking about 4 players in. 4 men, right? No prospects.
and that's just to give us cover, not to progress. That's just to cover for the weaknesses we've got just now, not to build.
Exactly.
And then of course you're back where at square one when the Champions League qualifiers come up in the summer, because again we're always kind of fighting a battle just to get to stand still.
Dare I say it, Ralph? But that is almost secondary now, isn't it? About the Champions League qualifiers, it's now just about the league, isn't it? Really?
Well, that's a very good. But it makes a very good point, which I will come to later, very soon, but later on after this. Just to give you a quick update, Martin O'Neill said Kelechi Iheanacho is back in the grass. He won't be fit for Falkirk. Blah, blah, blah. Sarachi is probably the beginning of February. He's really chopping at the bit to get back, and he has to be held back as he's done the same injury twice. So again, we've got a few weeks for them. I think Iheanacho might get on it on when's that? Sunday. Next Sunday we're playing Falkirk. Or he might even get some time against. I think he's in the European squad, isn't he? Definitely.
That's right.
So he might be get a wee half an hour. Him and Maeda. For me, we're back to that. So yeah, right. So what I was going to say is, Stephen Welsh, Ralph, do we think we're now at the stage of having to haggle with Motherwell for their right winger?
I would have thought that Welsh and Kenny would be a marvellous little swap in cash to get that boy in. Because
how much cash do you think Celtic's board want from Motherwell for Welsh and Kenny as well as Marwood?
we should laugh, but there's probably some fucking truth in that, isn't there?
I'd hate to think. Do you know what? You can imagine the conversation going on just now with them. Again, it comes down to amateurism. It comes down to the board. They might be good at business. They're not very good when it comes to football and football deals. But that, again, it's too late in the day to change it now. That can be dealt with at the end of the season. Because all the mistakes they've made this season need to be addressed and people need to be held accountable for it. But for now, let's just try and win something this year.
Right.
But that went depressing very quickly, didn't it?
Okay, right. So let's just cut to what I was thinking about. We'll come back to players maybe exiting. Right. Let's just deal with players coming in right now. Here's a question for you. Playing devil's advocate, right? If you're on the Celtic board right now and you still don't know who's going to be the manager next season, do you advocate spending big to bring players in right now? Or do you just hold fire and say, make do, Martin?
But they won't spend big, Desi. They won't spend big. We know the answer to that. But they won't.
Right, so we've had 2 loanees so far, right? Yeah, I know. I'm not. As I say, I'm just throwing.
No, you're devil's advocate. You're throwing it out there. Mm-hmm. But you know they won't. We all know they won't because it's evidence-based, isn't it? And the evidence is they're not going to spend big. We've got 2 loan deals in so far. If they do sign somebody, it looks like it will be somebody where it might be the sort of £2 million range based upon last summer, during the summer, not the last day of the transfer window. But
so even then, Hector, great example. Even then, do you think? So you're a Celtic board member. Are you going to ratify spending a £2 million on, say, what's his name? Sorry.
Maswinisa.
Like Maswinisa, right? 3 million is the talking point. So say it was 2.5 plus Stephen Welsh, right? You could get him for 2.5 plus Stephen Welsh tomorrow. Are you going to advocate? Would you advocate? You would advocate. We would all advocate. We'd throw the money right away now. But do you think, from a Celtic board's perspective, they're thinking, do we really want to be spending that sort of money given the uncertainty? And Ralph even touched on the Champions League qualifiers. They're not getting into the Champions League at this point. You're lucky to get into the Europa/conference at this point. Do you think they'll be thinking like that? That'll be in their minds of, do we really want to commit $2 million to this?
They must have a plan, a succession plan. There must be. Right, we know we've only got Martin until the summer. Maloney's come back. He's, helped us out again. So you might as well plan for him to be the manager. You might as well start to look ahead. We couldn't do.
The assistant manager, Ralph.
Yeah. With the possibility of Martinez or whatever.
Or
you would think they're already making noises for that position. You would think they'd put feelers out.
But
Desi, I'm going to answer your question. I totally get what you're saying. Nobody's. We understand it. I think we all sigh, every one of us, the 3 of us, and I suspect 99.9% of the Celtic supporters just sigh because people of our vintage and our age knew of a time where Celtic didn't have cash, and that's fine. You don't have cash, you're screwed. I think the big reason we all sigh and we look at everything is we go, we don't think they will spend the money, and the big sigh is because we've got over £70 million there. And if ever you want to dip in to use some of that money, it's when you're facing big challenges to win the league, which is really what everything's about. It's a football club, isn't it? It's to win your domestic league, the champions of the country you're in. And we're under pressure for the first time this season with 2 teams. We can still win this league. If we went out and gave Martin O'Shawn Maloney somewhere between £10 and £50 million to spend, which is a smidgen of that £75 million, that would probably help us win the league based upon how they're good at identifying players. And that's what we're all sighing. It's the answer staring us in the face, and it's the Celtic board, and we still think the fuckers still might not do it.
From a Celtic board's perspective, if you qualify for Europa League, you'll get £25 million. If you qualify for the Champions League, you'll get £40 million. So do I care about spending £15 million in January when the sums add up to the same?
It's to win the league, is it? It's to win the league.
Yeah.
We'll finish third. See if we don't strengthen, we'll finish third.
No, exactly. Obviously, I'm no advocating anything for the Celtic. This is what we'll begin with Monty here, because we always talk about what's the board's goals against what's the fans' goals, so to speak. So obviously we want to win everything we possibly can. And that also brings us to the question, Ralph. If I gave you the choice right now, Ralph, would you like to go on a good run, possibly winning the Europa League or winning the league? What would you prefer to do at this point, Ralph, in this season?
I would build for Europe, because then the league takes care of itself, because you've got that higher level of quality within the squad. That was how I would plan the players I was bringing in. If you aim higher, then the lower level should take care of itself. That's how I would do it. Plus, of course, there's only if we do get through, maybe 8 games. No, still 8 games to win it. It's not quite a done deal.
Good way to go. Good way to go.
It's a possibility. Other teams might not prioritise it. Look at Tottenham. They finished very low in the English league last year.
17.
Plus, it's a guaranteed Champions League spot. Exactly the same as winning the league. More than winning the league. So I would build for that. The
Tottenham thing's very strange, because they're struggling this season. They had a good result the other night, but the fans are kind of starting to say, "Oh, Anne's this," and you're kind of going, "Well, what matters more? Where you finish in the league?" And I'm not talking about winning the league, finishing the league or silverware. But Hector, to bring us back to the start of this season, a lot of the uncertainty seems to be caused by the whole, will Brendan renew his contract? The board did not seem to commit. Brendan hadn't committed. Everything was in a state of limbo. Brendan walks away because the board, the whole Nissan Micah Ferrari, etc. The board then put a plaster on it with Martin. Don't back Martin. Don't basically say, "Martin, you're the saviour to the end of the season." Go and fuck up with Nancy. Then have to go back to Martin, and we're back to this again. So would the best thing to be for the board actually to turn around for this window, to turn around and go, "Listen, we've made one major decision here. Martin O'Neill's got an 18-month contract. So we know exactly what's happening in the next 3 windows." You know what
I wouldn't be against that. And the reason for it, a couple of points. One, it's results based, and his 2 short terms of results have been phenomenal. Right? It's just phenomenal. But the other thing is, he did an interview, you know how he does the press conference, but before a match, I think it was TNT Sports midweek, and he was asked about, since he came back, there, how they function the roles, and he said, really interesting, what he did before with John Robertson and Steve Walford back in the day is that Walford was a training ground coach. He was the Monday to Friday training ground. John Robertson was the sort of, his assistant, he was the kind of guy that liaison with the players and him, day to day. And Martin very late. Aye, and that's pretty much it. And Martin would turn up on a Friday for the Friday training session, then obviously do the pre-game speech in the dressing room at 10 to 3 or 5 to 3. So he said that Sean and Fozzie, but Sean in particular, does the training. He completely runs the training. And Martin's not there every day of the week. But Martin turns up maybe one day a week at training. He's in the dressing room pre and post match. And that's when he does his bit. So where I'm coming from with this is that if Martin gets 18 months, it's not him working at Celtic, based in Glasgow with his wife and family down the road. He can still live there and come up here, and it's in safe hands. It's called delegation to people who are good at their jobs. And Maloney, by all accounts, isn't a good manager because he's not built to be that manager. But apparently he's a really good coach, as we all know. So to answer your question, I think actually I would be okay with that. I think it would give us a bit of continuity. You could build this January for the summer, then build in the summer for the season. But Desi, it makes sense, which means it won't happen.
Of course, well, that's it. So, but that, so certainty builds on certainty, if you know what I mean. So everything has to be secure and solidified. And the thing is, everything is still totally fluid. It's lava. We're trying to build on lava right now because you can't go out and get the players that you really need. Like even like our new centre forward, he's still on loan. He's on loan. He's hoping to impress. And then we've got an option to buy. Great. We've not got an option to buy with Sarachi. I don't know if we've got one with Araujo. I don't think
we don't have one with Araujo, no.
I mean, things like that. So everything's still up in the air. We're still spinning plates and hoping for the best. So the board delegation, that was a great word. I ranted the other night about Michael, do your fucking job and be a CEO. You should not be part of football negotiations. And we've talked long about how we should have a football board to get a budget for the main board. So Michael and Chris can say, there's your 20 million for the season. Anything you make on sales, then that's great. We'll give you 10% and you can go and play with that. But they have to get that sort of structure in place quick, because clearly Michael Nicholson and Chris Mackay are no answering any questions at this football club.
But Desi, you're missing a big point, and you know this as well. Aye, but they've no spines because they're way overpaid for their role. Michael Nicholson, 850 grand, excluding bonuses for God knows what, and shares. Chris Mackay, £500,000. They wouldn't get a fraction of that any other business in Scotland. But the other thing, the big thing, see if Michael Nicholson went, I've got this cunning plan, looks at what they do in Bruges, or looks at what they do in other similar clubs in Europe, similar size leagues, and went, here's the model. Director of football, head of recruitment, football manager, work together, delegated budget, and they only come to us for an exceptional amount. Put a paper in front of you, a PowerPoint pack, there's half dozen slides, Dermot, rebrand it Celtic, plagiarise it a bit, steal Bruges and put Celtic on it. There you go. The issue is, he's going to go to Dermot Desmond to get approval. And two things for that. One, he's not got the guts to go to Dermot Desmond for approval. He's spineless. He's happy being a patsy. And two, and if he did, Dermot Desmond would tell him where to go. So I think all the buck stops with their moustached investor.
Yeah. Somebody did mention that today, Ralph. Somebody did say Dermot Desmond, blah, blah, and I went, well, the fact that, this is whoever I was putting, I said, the fact that you're saying Dermot Desmond here shows why the whole board have to go. If none of the board, Ralph, can actually turn around and say, this is not right. Just because you own 35% or something and you're a billionaire, this isn't right. Our job is to protect Celtic. We are the Celtic board. We are not the Dermot Desmond board. And that reflects badly across the whole board. So they all have to go. You know what I mean?
You know, I heard a weird thing last week and I thought, no, don't be daft. But I did hear that somebody says that the Ross Desmond that came in and was at the AGM, he's not actually there at the behest of his dad. He's there at the behest of the rest of them to try and loosen Dad's influence. Because of this kind of, they've always got to ask him permission, they've always got to do that. And the rest of the board are thinking that with Ross there, they don't have to do that anymore. Just thinking about it after you just said it that way, it's a possibility, but again, it just shows the uncertainty and the confusion that the board are putting out towards all of us.
Desi, the one smidgen. They're not any port in a storm, anything, right? Or that clutching at the smallest of straws I've got.
I've just done it as well, eh?
Right? Is that in 2 occasions this year, Dermot Desmond, not the Celtic board, Dermot Desmond had phoned Martin O'Neill to get him out of a hole. Not once, but twice. And my only smidgen of hope is that Martin's went, especially the second time coming back, not so much the first time, but the second time here at the end of the season, Dermot, if I'm doing this the second time, you've got to back me. And I'm not saying back me with £30 million. You know that's not going to happen. But back me. It might be £10 million, £15 million. And Desi, that is what you call a smidgen, a minute smidgen of hope.
Okay, I would only balance that with the fact that you have 1 week of the window left and the request is already over 2 weeks old. That's
but think of the wages Celtic saved, Desi.
Yeah, exactly. But I just like to add to that, like, I would not care what wage Michael Nicholson was getting, 850 grand, and Chris Mackay can get 550 grand, whatever it is, doing their jobs, doing their CEO and chief financial officer jobs, as long as they concentrate on their areas. So Mike can take care of sponsorship and Chris can take care of finances, whatever, but they delegate all of the footballing responsibilities to a football board and people who know what they're doing. That's ultimate. Then they can be at every away game smiling with their club ties on, everybody will be over the moon, because the football thing would take care of itself. And we would happily turn in and say, why is Mr. Football Board Leader making such a mess of it. We wouldn't have a go, Michael. We wouldn't have a go to Celtic PLC board. We would recognise a football board for what it is.
If they were wise, right, had that common sense about them, and they were wise, and if Martin said, look, no, I can't commit to being the manager for 18 months, right? I'm 74 almost. No, look, I've done it. But see if they were wise and he said no to that, you would move heaven and earth to keep him at the club in a capacity that allowed him to do 1 day a week or 2 days a week, right? I.e., the chairman of the club, there's a vacancy there coming up. Martin O'Neill was a chairman, my God, representing the club and, you know, being the face of the club with the supporters. There's a big one. Or two, director of football role, he could do with his eyes shut. Imagine him, the delegated authority, working with the head of recruitment and working with the manager, and he reports back straight to Dermot Desmond.
Right.
That would work.
Knowing full well that he's already held him at Hull twice. You know what I mean? He would have more clout with Desmond than anybody else, easily.
It will be interesting to see the Martin O'Neill relationship with the board by the time we get to the end of the season compared to the start of the season. I think there could be big changes there, but I'm just running out of time. I want to get two things quickly. Quick question to you, Ralph and Hector. Who do you think will leave in this window?
I think we've told people they can't leave until we get people in, and if we don't get people in,
Brendan tried that.
That's
remember?
Going to be it.
Brendan,
Yeah.
what about Kyogo? Maybe going to replace Ida at Swansea. There's how the Spain's football.
Ida's injured, isn't he?
He's injured. 3 months. But yeah, so do we think anybody's going to leave? Bernardo, maybe?
I'll throw some names at you. Balikwisha, he'll go.
I think he's already gone. He wasn't even on the bench today.
He'll go.
But he can only go. He can only go back to Antwerp, I think, or another.
He can only play for two teams.
You have to go to another. You have to go to another area such as the MLS or Asia or like kind of Saudi. He'll go anywhere in Europe.
I think Bernardo will go. It's pointless keeping a guy that is just getting no game time. You know, there's nothing with him. He'll go. I think in an ideal world, Donovan would get on loan to play every week the rest of the season. Depends when Alistair Johnston's back, because we can't have 4 right backs. That's just daft, right? But I think, is it March they're talking about Alistair Johnston? Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be back.
In March. I think who else have we got? Johnny Kenny, if he wasn't injured, I think he would get moved out. I don't know how long he's injured for. Is it a week or is it a month? That will determine.
Just till the end of the window, probably.
As I said, Yang would have been a certainty, but right now he's no certainty.
No,
you can't move him out now. And Dane Murray, I would loan out, go away for half a season to 18 months somewhere else. But right now, it's kind of what do you do? Because we don't have a right sided centre back in with experience. And Stephen Welsh, is he going to go to Motherwell?
He can only go back to Motherwell or another region.
So I think, but I'll throw one in. I think you might be upset. I think Rio might get sold.
See, when we were talking about Bernardo, then I'm thinking, are we no still light in midfielders? If we could bring anybody in before, I'd say Wednesday, then I think there might be a chance of, listen, there's a couple of days for you guys to secure these guys. And other clubs seem to be able to sign people over the weekend, unlike us. So that might be a possibility. It depends who we bring in, I think, before anybody like your Hatatis may go. And Bernardo, I think, was still
what's left his value now, right? They might have got 10 million a couple of years ago, then they might get 3 or 4 now. They might just try and cash in for a few quid.
Right, okay. Right, so the final topic for tonight, just for a few minutes. We were talking before we came on here about how we've not been up against it like this for a long time, Ralph. The club's in a bit of turmoil. The team's in a bit of turmoil, trying their best. The management are trying to find their way again after fucking management turmoil. Nothing to do with their fault. We were in a game against Hearts today where clearly the refs were fucking in cahoots, let's say. They were more than happy. The refs and VAR were up against it on all fronts, Ralph. And is there any way we can possibly step up to this fight without being as united together as we need to be? I.e., does Mr. Nicholson need to concentrate more than just transfers to get everyone together?
Well, I'm going to try and be a wee bit more optimistic. Right, we've taken quite a few hits this season. We've had Rodgers going out, we've had the Nancy debacle, we've had O'Neill coming back and trying to get things sorted. We've had two what feel like bad results. You know, when after the game you felt kind of down with Hearts and Bologna. But we're still in with a chance of qualifying for the knockout stages of the Europa League. All right, we're sitting third in what you would call a two-horse race. But by no means out of the league. By no means out of that. And of course, there's still the Cup. So we're still in 3 or 4 competitions. We do need strengthening. We do need I don't know if you would call it the cavalry coming in to help us out on the playing field. We've got the management team that we couldn't probably get a better one than that just now. We do need to circle the wagons a wee bit. But I don't know if we're even down, but not out. Certainly not out. Maybe we're a wee bit down, but that's just because of today's game. We get sucked into it. And yeah, the establishment will always try and put it in our place. But maybe it'll help us having that mentality as we go into the home stretch of the season. Didn't sound enthusiastic, but
but in respect to the whole,
maybe trying too hard.
Yeah, but with respect to even the whole Green Brigade and there's still no been any other branches reached out between the board and the
surely
fans.
the game against Utrecht would be the ideal game to hold out the olive branch and say, come on back in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a big game.
It's just too late, isn't it? It's too late for that, even Thursday. But it was Brian Wilson who stepped in as the chair, and we can put our thoughts on that to one side. It is what it is. He's there now. He said the words, now that Martin's in, if we can get unity to come together at the end of the season. Well, unity's opening the door, having a conversation and saying, right, we want the stadium jumping. Let the people back in who love the club as much as anybody. They've done 1 or 2 things in the past. Like every ultras group and every club around the world, they always pushed boundaries. But 99% of what they do is fantastic. Let them in, show unity. There's a demonstration, not just words, it's your action. Let them in. Falkirk next Sunday in the league 3 o'clock kickoff. Reenact their season tickets so they can come in again and get everybody fighting for it. And if we do that, we're quite a difficult force to beat if we're united on and off the pitch to the end of the season. And I think that would work wonders for all of us to do that.
Yeah. And like some of my notes I made today, let's not forget, Martin has basically returned starting at -12. I mean, Wilfred Nancy losing 4 games. I mean, so we're 6 points behind. So I think when they came in, was it 9 or something? And again, I might be wrong. I never looked it up. But he was well behind Hearts and then got his level with Hearts again. So the man's been down the road. There's players there that have been down the road. If we can get actually the quality that we need to help those players get there, and maybe give a couple of the current empty shirts a bit of a shake also, maybe they can step up. You know what I mean? I think we're just been a wee bit easy on them. I know we've had a go tonight, but I think in general they've had an easy ride, and this is when they need to step up. Everybody needs to step up. That's what I'm talking about, all in it together. So it'll be a very interesting. We've got 1 week of the window left. So it'll be a very interesting week.
It's 7 days. It sounds longer.
Yeah, it'll feel like at least a month. But again, it'll be very interesting. 8 days. Is it February 2nd? I think the window closes. It'll be interesting to hear Martin O'Neill's first press conference after the window. You know what I mean? Just to see, has the board stepped up? Have the board fucked up? You know what I mean? Because I don't think he'll be slow. He may use Martin speak, but I think it'll be clear to everyone how he feels after that. You know what I mean? So it'll be very interesting.
Well, Martin was a man with the immortal words, wasn't it? Was it the season after Seville when he said that Celtic fans better get used to life in the slow lane?
Yeah,
and the Celtic chairman at the time, Brian Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, he left the voicemail message with somebody slating him on for saying that. So Martin, he'll say his piece when he needs to. I just get the feeling that if it wasn't Martin, I'd be more worried about getting players in. I think because he stepped up twice, and it's Desmond. 2 massive favours to Desmond. Not to Michael Nicholson, Chris McCarr, Peter Law, but 2 massive favours to Desmond. I think there's a bit in that he'll tap into, because I couldn't see him doing it a second time without that.
Well, we'll see. That's how the Redvendon relationship started, and we all know where that ended up, so it'll be interesting. But again, Peter Lawwell was there then, so there are different scenarios right now. But it'll be an interesting 7 days, stroke 8 days. Speaking of Martins, I do have a Martin to thank. Martin Conroy, big shout out to Martin Conroy. Martin Ralph was the guy who told me that there's not enough diaries being published. So well done, Ralph. I noticed you've been publishing an E-Tim's diary at www.etims.net. Every day you can read Ralph's E-Tim's diary, a nice review of what's going on in all things Celtic.
Full of positivity and charm, Desi.
That is.
So there's a fellow that travels up with for Leicester to the games with one of the boys at our CSC, and he's in his 60s, and he gets set upon in Bologna last week. He's back home. I think he's out of hospital now. But just pass on the wishes from all of us to him.
No,
he called by himself in a part of town, I think.
Okay, hopefully he's okay. Touch wood. Yeah, and Hector, I'm sure you'd like to give John Waddle, the big Buffalo Bills fan, a well done and good luck for next season from your Eagles continuing. I believe both of you have been put out the Super Bowl this year.
My Eagles deserve nothing, Desi. They actually were the opposite of Celtic in terms of they've got a brilliant owner, a brilliant chief exec, the best in the league. They've got amazing players, but one or two of the coaches were dreadful and didn't deserve it. So, yeah, John's unlucky because they've never won it and they've been so close so often. The Eagles only won it for the first time, really, about 2017.
Yeah.
So Buffalo's never, and they lost 4 finals, which is unusual. 4 consecutive finals way back.
Can you say that again, just to rub it in, Hector?
4 consecutive finals, including a missed field goal. A missed field goal to win one of them, right? I think the other 3 they get pumped rotten. But they've really, I actually feel sorry for them because their guy against the quarterback's brilliant, and they've just seem to just every year. So the 2 semi-finals are on tonight, Desi.
Yes.
And of the 4 teams, I'll just put it out there, I'd like to see Seattle win it.
Yeah. I think I had Seattle last year. I always seem to be a year behind with my predictions, so I think I had Seattle last year. So yeah, good luck. And they've got a bit of green in their uniform, so that would be nice. Right, okay. So folks, thank you very much for listening. We did hope to do this in an hour, but clearly there's quite a lot of tension, anxiety, confusion, pondering of where this is going to go. I said today's game for Hearts was going to be either a break or a breakaway game for Hearts. But again, it was a draw. We're still well in contention. We've still got Hearts to come at home. We've still got Rangers 2 games. Hearts are playing Rangers in a couple of weeks. So there's still plenty to play for. I think there's 45 points. Is it to play for?
Well, next 4 league games, right? Get Falkirk at home, Aberdeen away, Livingston at home, and Kilmarnock away. So as an
finish for season.
As an absolute minimum, and I'm looking at the game Pittodrie with them with a new manager, maybe worst case they're a draw, but you're looking at minimum 10 points, but ideally, if we can get 12 points those 4 games with Martin O'Neill in charge, I tell you, let's see where the table is after those 4 games, right?
Yeah, well, and I think Rangers have got Hearts towards. Rangers have got Hearts the 15th of February, so that'll be Valentine's. This will be about Valentine's weekend. And then Hearts have got Hibs at home, Rangers away, then Falkirk at home. Right, so that's us. So we'll wait and see what happens in the next 8 days, folks. Fingers crossed Michael Nicholson can get his finger out and produce at least 2, maybe 3, a Dreamland 4 quality signings, but only time will tell. All right, so it's just left for me to say thank you to Ralph Mal. Thank you, Ralph.
Yes, thanks.
Ralph is smiling, folks, just to let you know. I know we're not exactly sounding too cheery tonight, but yes, smiling. I do see him on video here. And also thank you to Hector Bandido. Thank you, Hector.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, so if something very unusual exciting happens, we will jump on, but I don't expect us currently to be having another podcast. But we do have a couple of special guests lined up for very soon, so hopefully they'll be in February/early March, and we look forward to bringing them to you. All right, folks, my name's Desi. Fingers crossed for the next 8 days. Good night.
Big Tams of the Gallowgate are proud to sponsor the E-Tims podcast for season 25-26. Do you need 3 or 4 quality signings? Do you know any desperate football agents in Israel? Do you only make reverse charge phone calls? Go on, Mike, you can do it. Big Tams, sighing at transfer windows since time began.